Hi friends, good morning, or whatever time it is when I meet you here in the internet. Okay, so we're going to start out now building the theater house, right? So you've completed the stage, the walls, the doors, and it's time to do the seating risers. So if you come over here and look at our section view, right, we are going to see that the lowest level of the seating risers is below stage height, okay? And then there are various steps up from that height, all the way up to the top level, which is relatively above stage height, okay? The doors are here at this sort of 0 level, which is our stage floor height, okay? You'll also notice there are no references to the stairs in this section view. That's okay. We're gonna figure that out in a second. But where I would say you should start is by taking a look at this plan, figuring out what the heights of the various areas will be, okay? And I would do this on either a printout of it, like a hard copy might be easier, to give yourself a sketch, whatever. But you're gonna go in and measure your section view and figure out the heights of the steps, okay? I recommend, and this is what we're about to do on this project, I recommend creating a new layer that starts at this 0 height, okay? So we're gonna create a new layer down at -2'6" for the theater house and measuring up from that baseline for all of the steps of the risers, of the seating risers, okay? For our purposes, this underground basement area is not super important, so we're not going to worry about that in this particular version of this drawing, okay? So, what does that look like? I'm going to now go create a theater house layer, and then we'll come over here, take measurements, and go back over there and create polygons and extrudes that give us those different heights, okay? So let's come back over here first, and we will jump into our design layers tab, right click, say new, a new design layer. It's going to be called theater house, or you could call it seating risers if you wanted to. And we're gonna say, okay, so now we're gonna be drawing on a separate layer for the house. We're gonna move it down in the stacking order to maybe right around, either right below or right above our theater floor plan layer. They're gonna kind of go together in terms of levels of our drawing. And then we're gonna right click on it and hit edit. And what we'll do in this edit is change the elevation of this layer overall to -2'6", which is basically our floor level for the house, right? So I'm gonna click OK. So now our floor will match up with that line I just drew a second ago on our theater floor plan layer. Let's move that theater floor plan line and this dimension to the theater house layer so that when we are in the theater house layer, we can see what we're working with, okay? So I'm gonna come in now and do some dimensions so that I have a set of measurements relative to that floor, okay? So that as I draw my different levels relative to the floor, I can extrude them in height, okay? So that's all based on this 0 line that we've just created, okay? Let's start by going ahead and building out that whole floor level. We'll give it a little bit of a negative extrusion so that we have a clean base that this whole thing is gonna sit on, right? So if you notice over here, there's a little, probably 6" level that the whole thing is sitting on. We're gonna just extend that across the whole area. So I want everything inside the back wall to be included in this level. So I'm gonna start in whatever corner I so choose and trace the interior of this space with one gigantic polygon. We should probably at some point go back and get rid of some of the other random dimensions on this drawing. Do some cleanup later. Okay, So I'm just tracing this polygon shape. When I get to the curve here, I will switch into this 3-point arc mode, and then we'll go back into regular old line mode. All right, so that polygon shape is the inside of the theater house. I'm now going to extrude that down 6 inches. That's gonna give me a floor that this all sits upon, okay? So because I've done that, that will take care of this lowest level in the moat here, okay? So my next step up from that level is gonna be this seating riser, okay? You will notice there is a double line situation. Choose one of these lines. I would choose this interior line as the guide for us, okay? I'm now going to, same polygon tool, same story, trace each of these risers and extrude them based on the heights that I know they should have from the measurements we just took a minute ago. So we just follow our step, right? We get a seating riser. We'll do the same thing, following the same tracing pattern for each of the shapes we're working with, okay? Now I get to this kind of bigger area, and this will become the floor level. It will equal the stage height. And it's a little bit more complicated to trace, but we are going to follow that inside line. So I'm gonna start someplace where I know, and I'm gonna work my way around this whole crazy shape, okay? All the way back to where I started. So that big shape is gonna be at the 0 level. It's gonna equal the same height as the stage, all right? So now that we have that piece, you can go ahead and trace the rest of these shapes and then come back in and figure out the steps, which will be about dividing math-wise in between, okay? So you'll notice in this drawing, this one has the center step included in that level. This center step here would also be at the same height as this riser step. And then these other steps would be in between. And so that will be a little bit tricky for you to figure out some math on, but I believe in you, you can do it. When you come back in and do the steps, I also recommend that you create the shape one time and then copy and paste it everywhere you need it and just extrude it to the appropriate height. If you're doing a step like this and it would sit on top of this riser, which once we switch this into a 3D mode, once you extrude it, you'll be able to see through it, right? It won't be a solid anymore. You can have it sit at a bottom Z that would be the same height as the step that it would be on top of, okay? This is what this looks like now, right? Because all of these are below that level and because our seating section starts below that level, we are in good shape in terms of matching up now with our original height and then going up higher as drawn in our drawing, okay? So that is this step of the project. I'm gonna finish it up on my own and then I'll come back and talk you through adding the stairs. Adding the chairs. Thanks so much, see you soon.